Hi folks, Seth Leapson here. Thanks for watching my monologue. In these uncertain times, you may be thinking about personal protection. If you are, I urge you to visit my friends at Guns Etc. They'll help you find the perfect protection for yourself and your family, and they can even teach you how to use it. They've been protecting Arizonans for over 33 years, and they stand for the great principles this country was founded upon. Or you can just click on gunsetc.com. And if you like my monologues, please subscribe to 960 The Patriots YouTube channel. Welcome back and happy Friday, November 6, 2020. Quote, I'm asking everybody to stay calm, for all people to stay calm. The process is working. Close quote. That was Joe Biden yesterday. Sounds like a Republican during the race, history, and statue riots we saw a few months ago. My guess is if Joe Biden had said that about investigating police or denouncing rioters, stay calm, the process will work itself out, he'd have been a very clear winner Tuesday night. But the Democrats know something. They need their base, and their base wanted racial strife because their base lives on racial strife. And the Democrats cannot win without their base. I think most Americans, however, do want calm. But that's what is so odd about Joe Biden's statement. All we begged for after the last or throughout the last 4 years has been calm. We didn't have a moment of it. From claims of illegitimate presidencies of Donald Trump by no less than Hillary Clinton and Jimmy Carter, to the calls for his impeachment from the second month of his presidency, to the storyline of Russian collusion creating his presidency, to his actual impeachment over collusion with Russia's sworn enemy, Ukraine, to the claims he was a tyrant, a racist, a bigot, to tearing up his State of the Union speech, to the fire alarms and drills every night on CNN and MSNBC for the last 4 years. Where was the calm then? Now that Joe Biden sees the presidency within his reach, now, he says, is the time for calm. This is the revenge of the elites and progressive movement. Calm when we are in charge. Indeed, silence if possible. Blare, clang, uproar, riot when not. That's how revolutions work, of course. Why replace power if everything is pacific and calm? Now that he thinks he's about to be the power, Biden, calm must be restored, of course. Well, that's right. The time for the permanent revolution is over if the White House goes to the Democrats. Remember what Karl Marx said. He said the revolution must continue until, you see, there is an endpoint, until the proletariat conquers state power. Once you have the power, you can call for calm. That's why for the first time in 4 years, you hear a major Democrat, in the case of Joe Biden, now calling for it. He assumes he's conquered, or his party has conquered, the apparatuses of power. So everyone just stay calm and let the process work its way out smoothly. Now the media and cognoscente are condemning President Trump for raising claims of fraud. This again, after 4 years of being told he was elected based on fraud and was an illegitimate president. What's more likely, I ask you? That Russians coerced us so covertly via Facebook that Trump won 4 years ago? Or that ballot shenanigans moving Donald Trump from a several 100,000 vote lead in Pennsylvania to a deficit 3 days later took place? Today, Nancy Pelosi said, it's a happy day for our country because of the, quote, enormous mandate, close quote, Joe Biden received. Enormous mandate? She said this at 8:56 a.m. this morning. He wasn't even and hasn't even yet been declared the winner or victor yet. And even if he is, how is it a mandate when it's won by 4 days of counting after election night with a razor-thin margin? How is it a mandate when the House lost Democratic Party seats? How is it a mandate when Republicans kept the Senate? And we thought Joe Biden wasn't in control of his mental faculties. Enormous mandate? Donald Trump received 7 million more votes than 4 years ago. And Donald Trump flipped the script on minority voting blocks. It didn't happen overnight, and it isn't solidified, but clearly with the right policies and honest conversations, the Democratic Party's lock on black and Hispanic voters is now clearly up for grabs. Or more grabs, anyway. When you have a Kamala Harris on the ticket and the quote-unquote racist Donald Trump improves votes in minority populations, you do not want to forsake or give up on that. This could explain why Charles Blow of the New York Times could engage in literal group libel this week, writing this, quote, "Let me be specific and explicit here. White people, both men and women, were the only group in which a majority voted for Trump, according to exit polls. To be exact, nearly 3 out of every 5 white voters in America are Trump voters. It is so unsettling to consider that many of our fellow countrymen and women are either racists or accommodate racists or acquiesce to racists." Close quote. 3 out of 5 Americans, 60% of America, is racist? What of black women doubling their vote to Donald Trump and black men increasing their vote for Trump by nearly 40%? Mr. Blow has an answer for that. Quote, "Some people who have historically been oppressed will stand with their oppressors and will aspire to power by proximity." Close quote. Larry Elder was on television this morning. He said this, "I've met with Mitch McConnell. So far as I know, Mitch McConnell never owned slaves or had to put away a KKK costume when I walked into his office. I've met with Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy is not a slave owner and has never owned slaves. And when we talked about economic empowerment, choice, and education for urban Americans, I don't think he was looking for ways to further oppress urban Americans." Larry went on to say that racism has never before been less of a factor in American life than it is today. He then went on to quote a speech Barack Obama gave in 2007, speaking about how America got 90% of where it needed to be in the Moses generation, the MLK generation. And it was Obama's generation's job, known as the Joshua generation, to get the other 10%. Larry said Barack Obama's election to the presidency that next year, and then his re-election 4 years later, seemed like that 10% was at least cut in half. In 1958, when Gallup asked Americans if they would be willing to vote for a black president, only 38% said yes. Now it's been done, twice, against 2 of the most famous political names in American political history in the 20th and 21st centuries. In fact, Barack Obama received a greater percentage of the white vote than his predecessor candidate John Kerry received 4 years earlier. Larry went out to point out that Abilene, Texas, which voted in a black mayor, also went 80% for Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump is the dog whistler for racism, apparently nobody's hearing it. Let me stay here a moment. As Jeff Jacoby pointed out, in 1958, 48% of white Americans polled by Gallup said that if black people came to live next door, they would likely move. 48%. By 1978, only 13% still said that, and by 1997, it had fallen to 1%. That's only one measure of racism's profound decline. Friendship is another. In 1964, a mere 18% of white Americans claimed to have a friend who was black. 4 decades later, Gallup found that the proportion of interracial friendships had more than quadrupled. 82% of whites said they had close non-white friends, and 88% of blacks reported having close friends who were of another race. Americans, and I think a great many more minority Americans, are tired of the racial divisions that the likes of the Democratic Party and the New York Times keep pushing on us. Why am I spending so much time here? Because the dog that didn't bark here is important. As guilty as Americans were supposed to feel or meant to feel about their racism, especially this year, we can proudly show those peddling this nonsense are the liars. Statistically, by polling, and by what this election itself shows. Stop the guilt. There are racists in America, to be sure, as there are racists in Somalia. But we are the least racist country in the world, and we should be proud of it and not ashamed of it. And the Republican Party should not let up on becoming the party of minorities once again, as it was for easily 100 years before the 1960s. We can thank Donald Trump's policies and straight talk for getting us out of that rut. Now let's put it into second and third gear and never stop. As for reigning claims of how this election will be ultimately called, sure, my optimism is slipping a little bit. But as I said yesterday, it's optimism for this country that I had in 4 more years of great policies. The bad policies we will see from a prospective Biden administration will have a hard time coming to effect if we keep the Senate and then improve our numbers there. And in the House, possibly even taking it back in 2 years, as we presumably would and happens in interim elections in the first term of a new presidency. If you're looking here for great optimism about Donald Trump's re-election chances still, I have to tell you, it's withered a bit now. There's a lot that's fishy here. A lot. Joe Biden winning 9 million more votes than Barack Obama is the first sign of my incredulity. The flipping states in one direction and one direction only from election night to tonight is, of course, another. The idea that you cannot campaign and speak as a confused dodderer, confusing massive numbers and family members with each other and win this many votes is yet a third. But at least there's this. Where's the coronavirus panic and pandemonium? I told you it would be over on November 4th. It seems it is. And were not for it in the first place, I'm pretty sure we'd be talking about Trump's second term much more confidently. Much more confidently. But let's put it squarely. If we lose this thing by the margins we're looking at, don't squander it. Given all that's been thrown at us, it turns out, quite simply, that Donald Trump just doesn't have an Archimedean lever. But damned, we are, and we're awfully strong here. Mandate, Madam Speaker? I don't think so. I'm Seth. We'll be right back.